Hamilton, Ontario has more Tim Hortons coffee shops than any city in Canada. In fact, than any city in the world. Why is Tim Hortons so popular in Hamilton?
I was walking around in my hometown. Everybody's face was wearing a frown. Looking for a smile, but I couldn't find one. Something must be done. There's junk in the water, there's smoke in the air. Maybe I should be a man and run for mayor. Gotta do something about this scene. So let this be my theme. Said when you vote for TA, it's a vote for humanity and the municipality of Donut Rock City. He's the one for me is he.
We decided to ask Hamiltonians, why do you love Tim Hortons so much?
My name's Larissa Fenn. I'm the Manager of Communications for the Hamilton Port Authority. And I think Tim Hortons is important to Hamilton because it's the stuff that fuels the factories, the offices, the lecture halls in Hamilton and all across Canada.
For many years, I wrote a column in The Spectator called Street Beat, and that led me into way too many stories about Tim Hortons. It is something that Hamilton is proud of. One of the first that I did was coming here. We are in a basement in the east end of Hamilton, not too far from where that first store opened at Ottawa and Dunsmuir. And there was a fellow here named Paul Kirchick. Paul had had a heart attack, and Tim Hortons was part of his recovery strategy. Every day he took a long walk, and that walk included stopping in at that first store, and he would have a plain cake donut and a coffee with cream, no sugar. And one day Paul learned that they were renovating that first Tim Hortons, and he got them to bring this original mustard-colored counter through the basement window. Paul started with the counter. He then assembled swivel stools. He has cups. I mean, you're not going to see this cup anymore. He's got a fridge full of memorabilia. Maybe no Hamiltonian was a bigger fan of Hortons than Paul, but he is representative.
I love Timmy's because you can find Timmy's at every single corner. There's always a Timmy's around, and I love to get a black coffee and a sour cream glazed donut.
My name is Liam. I like tippets.
My name is Luis. I'm from Dominican Republic. We moved to here in Hamilton 6 months ago. Using a Tim Hortons, I know Tim Hortons is part of the culture here in Hamilton and Canada. And I also love the chocolate and tea.
Tim Hortons is not only a great place to meet up with friends, it also has history. It is so important to Hamilton. I learned about it in school. The founder of Tim Hortons, Tim Horton obviously, was a player on the NHL team Toronto Maple Leafs. Business wasn't going so well, so he got the rest of his teammates to hand out donuts, Timbits, and sign posters. So when they demanded money, he didn't have it, he paid them all with donuts.
I was at the opening of the second Tim Hortons ever made in Canada. And I met Tim Horton, and I met Marcel Pronovost, and I met Dave Keon, and Johnny Bauer. And I just wanted to follow those guys all over the place. They were my heroes. When they went around the back to have a cigarette, I followed them there. And finally Johnny Bauer said, "Hey kid, I think Frank Mahalish is out front. Go find him." And I went to find him, but he wasn't there.
I was born in Brantford, but I'm from Six Nations Reserve. And I actually worked for Tim Hortons for almost 8 years for Dave and Maureen Sauvé. It was the greatest experience of my life. They were second family to me because I'm not from Hamilton, but they made me feel welcome. I still continue to support their businesses to this day. I go there because it is still my second family, and they actually have a great children's dance that they put on for the Tim Hortons Children's Foundation once a year, and I used to help coordinate that. And just seeing the happy faces of the children was what made it all worth it. Tim Hortons is a place where people can connect without having barriers or feel inferior, and that's what makes Tim Hortons so special.
Hi, I'm Ruan, and I like the Timbits at Tim Hortons.
So 24 and a half years ago, I decided that I had to be on time for my wedding. So we were heading down Barton Street and I realized we were going to be actually a half an hour early. And I really didn't want to stand around and wait at the church because I knew I'd be nervous. And then I spied a Tim Hortons, so I said to the girls, hey, let's stop at Tim Hortons. So we went in and I opted out of the coffee because I was afraid to spill it on my dress. And then the rest of the day just went great.
I'm from Afghanistan. 2 months ago we came here and Tim Hortons makes my day. And I love double. Tim Hortons, love you.
I am and have been a Hamiltonian ever since Timbits were free on the counter of the Tim Hortons that was on Upper James Street, where I used to go as a high school student playing delinquent from classes and having coffee and donuts with a friend. Nowadays, at break time from work, I and my cohorts go to a Tim Hortons in Dundas, where we are working, and I have a dark roast black coffee and an apple fritter. The apple fritters have become much better over the past few years, and I am an addict.
Hi, I'm Autumn Getty, and I've lived in Hamilton since I was 13. We moved here, when I first moved here we lived in a women's shelter, and I had a track coach at school who used to send me every day to Tim Hortons for coffee and buy me a donut. And I think that's why Tim Hortons is great in Hamilton, because people from different walks of life can get together there, and there's no sort of economic barriers.
I'm a Hamiltonian, and for years I've enjoyed, when I want to treat myself, a break at Tim Hortons. I have to admit I've gone into other coffee shops, but people are not chatting and making friends or family. They're on their computers.
Welcome to the brand new facility for the City of Hamilton, Tim Hortons Field. Hosted our first event on May 29th, 2015. The Canadian women's national team in soccer hosted Team England to a capacity crowd of 24,000 right here in this beautiful venue.
Tim Hortons is obviously a very well-known term around here in Hamilton. In fact, Tim Hortons started in Hamilton, so I feel like a lot of people were excited for that branding. One of the things that first struck me from being here was just the vistas that you're presented with. If you can see the escarpment to your south, and to the north you can see DeFasco and U.S. Steel, two organizations that have the steel industry has pretty much shaped the city. And if you're on the east side, currently we're on the west, but if you're on the east side, you get a vista of the downtown core and the bay. It's really breathtaking, and to know that so many people visited our city and were witness to the natural beauty and the history surrounding this building was great. It was a fantastic experience for them and for us.
This summer I went to Tim Hortons camp. I enjoyed it so much. It went by fast, and I'm hoping to go again for the leadership camp.
When I was 13 months, I couldn't see where I was because my car seat was still turned around, and we were at Tim Hortons, and my hand as soon as the donuts came in, my hand went like that and like, give me mine.
When I want to talk with my wife, about our life or our kids, I prefer to go to Tim.
I was born in the same month and year as Tim Hortons in Hamilton. My colleague and I used to go to lunch, and we had a ritual that we would treat each other for dessert, and one of us would always ask forbidden donut, and this was in reference to a segment of Simpsons Treehouse of Horror where Homer sells his soul to the devil for a donut.
I was born and brought up in Hamilton, but my husband is Japanese. One thing that really struck him when we first moved here was that Everywhere we went, people were carrying Tim Hortons cups. It made such a big impression on him, in fact, that when his parents came to visit us from Japan, he brought them to Tim Hortons, the very first Tim Hortons that's on Ottawa Street, which happens to be near our house. And one of my good friends who visited from Japan also went to the first Tim Hortons and had to make sure that she got a picture of herself in front of it before she went back to Japan. And funnily enough, now he drinks Tim Hortons coffee regularly.
We entered here in Hamilton. In the morning we went for our visa process. I saw everyone at a Tim Hortons cup in their hands, walking there and here. I said, oh my God, what is that? Which, from where they get it? So after, sometimes I noticed that, Tim Hortons is a coffee shop. Everyone early in the morning before going to their colleges, universities, works, they are going to Tim Hortons and get their coffee. After that, me and my family, we tried Tim Hortons coffee, especially double. We all loved it, and now every day my parents, my brothers, we all are drinking Tim Hortons coffee, which is amazing.
My name's Alex Lloyd. I'm from Hamilton. I love Boston creams at Tim Hortons.
When I first came to Hamilton, I found it very interesting that little communities were built around the Tim Hortons. And I was working in an area where there was a Tim Hortons very close to my work, so I started going there during my lunch or my break time. And at the time I was working as a social worker, and I found my clients at Tim Hortons at times. And people would talk to me, and we ended up with little groups of people. I eventually got to know other people that were coming in regularly to the Tim Hortons, and eventually the staff, and it turned out to be a social center. And in this area we have a lot of group homes, and it was very interesting because at times people would come in and someone from a group home would walk in, and always someone would go to the counter and sort of wink to the person who was pouring the coffee that this coffee was going to be paid. And the group home people got to have free coffees. And unfortunately, the Tim Hortons needed to be renovated. So when they did, they changed it for a drive-through, and it sort of split that little community. And it's very unfortunate because we're really in need of a social center in this area.
Hi, my name is Ramisa. I'm a fourth-year student at McMaster University, and all 4 years I've been going to Tim Hortons in the Student Center. The most wonderful lady named Terry who worked there, every roll of the rim she would do like a little dance. She's awesome, she's wonderful, and every day when I get a cup of coffee in the morning, she makes my day because on top of the cup she would put a heart or a smiley face. She's just absolutely wonderful. Thank you Tim Hortons for having such warm and nice employees.
Yeah, I'm Jorge. I'm from Mexico. I just arrived here 3 weeks ago, and I'm willing to learn more about your culture, and I noticed that you have a lot of Tim Hortons coffee, so probably that's a big part of your culture, so I'm willing to learn more about it, and that's it.
I've worked at Tim Hortons quite a few times. It's a very social place. It's a nice place to meet people and just sit and relax.
I went to store number 1 for my 5th birthday.
Hello there, my name is Maggie Harriet, and I'm from the Congo. I've lived here for 6 years now. I love French vanilla. It's just, I can't live without it.
I'm Doug Downey. I'm a Hamiltonian, born and raised. Tim Hortons is my favorite spot for coffee, and I have a Tim Horton joke. Two fellas went into Tim Hortons for the roll up the rim contest. The one fella rolled up the rim and he says, "Wow," he says, "I've won a motorhome." And the other fella says, "What?" He says, "Let me have a look at that." And he looked at it and he says, "You idiot, it says you win a bagel."
I've been living in Hamilton for almost 6 years, and I'm very happy to live in this city. To me, Tim Hortons is more like a fast food restaurant. It's so convenient for a student, and you can find the Tim Hortons location everywhere. even in the midnight, there's a 24-hour restaurant waiting for you.
I first was involved with Tim Hortons by going to the management and asking them to donate Tim Hortons Timbits to be used as a positive reinforcement for students in my behavior classroom, which worked out quite satisfactorily. In my own personal life, I appreciated the renovations that has taken place with Tim Hortons over the years. I currently use the Tim Hortons at the traffic circle because of its coziness with the newly placed fireplace that they have there. And I have involved myself to participate with organizations that has given the Tim Hortons gift certificates to individuals for different things and accomplishments that they have done throughout the year.
I think Tim Hortons is important to Hamilton because it's where it started, and it's also important to Canadian culture as a whole. We travel all over Canada, and it's something that kind of brings everyone together.
Hello, my name is Susan Carroll and I'm a professor here at Mohawk College, and I have my beverage of choice. A nice cup of tea from Tim's. Thank you very much.
My name is Ruddy Hawie's parent. I am 19 years old, Mohawk Turtle Clan, and I live in Hamilton, Ontario. For me, when I was growing up, my dad was a big fan of Tim Hortons. We spent so many hours there growing up. Like, we would just hang out for hours. We'd play like our Game Boys, me and my brother, while my dad would get coffees, talk to his friends. And then as I grew older, I moved to Hamilton and I started doing powwows, started trying to live a traditional life. And on those powwow trips, we'd always stop at Tim Hortons. We'd always get coffees, we'd get hot chocolates, we'd get bagels, donuts, we'd get Timbits, all that fun stuff just to have for when we're out there singing and dancing, camping out.
I'm quite new in Hamilton, so I know Tim Hortons is very famous in the local. So Tim Hortons culture is very attractive, and I like Tim Hortons.
Timbits.
Hi friends, my name is Prabjot and I am from India, and I have been here since last month, and I just love here in Hamilton. Well, I often go to Tim Hortons. I just love it. Basically, French vanilla and ice cap are my favorites.
I find Tim Hortons to be a great place to get coffee and meet people, and I have it every day. I think to me what it represents is Tim Hortons was very popular, and he decided that he wanted to open up his brand here, and it's spread everywhere. It's like wildfire. Everybody enjoys it, and I can't say enough good things about Tim Hortons.
I arrived here in 1974 to go to university, and when I first arrived here I found this very popular institution called Tim Hortons. So I started visiting Tim Hortons when I was going to university, but I speeded up with my visits once we had children and I was driving them to and from extracurricular activities like skating and piano and horse riding. And what I found was that I'd buy a box of 20 Timbits and I would give my daughters 3 or 4 each, but I might end up eating 9 or 10. I'm very careful now with what I eat, so when I go to Tim Hortons I usually eat whole wheat buns, either mini ones or whole ones with soup, and I have tea without sugar. I can't get away from Tim Hortons. Whether it's good or bad, I'm still going.
Hi, my name is John. I'm a student at Mohawk College studying in the Financial Services program. I love Tim Hortons. My favorite drink there is the iced cap with the vanilla bean shot.
When my children were young, we could afford to pay the babysitter. Then we would walk down the street, we'd get a Tim's coffee and a treat, and we'd go over to Churchill Park, and that would be date night.
I've never really liked Tim Hortons until I realized that it served a purpose in our society, people getting together and being able to meet. It reminds me of the nice cafes they have in Paris and so on, and I know it's different, but it serves that same kind of purpose with people. I have one friend, and that's our relationship, is always at Tim Hortons. And I think this is the same for many people. So I'm glad that they're here in Hamilton. It could be called Tim Jones. It's the people that make it.
I'm from Nigeria, Lagos. That's my province. I'm a Mohawk student, and I'm here to talk about Tim Hortons. This is one of the best coffee that I've ever had here in Hamilton. I've been here in Hamilton for the past 8 months right now, and Tim Hortons seems to be my first choice. And I really love it, especially the French vanilla. It's so nice.
My name is Jeff Seffinger, and I am a poet living here in Hamilton. I've lived here since, the late 60s. I've been here as long as Tim Hortons has, as a matter of fact. I got so involved with the Tim Hortons experience that I wrote a series of little poems about it. It's a nice... I had the feeling there that I was sort of in a village square every time I'm in Hortons. I came out with a collection called We Measure Our Time in Coffee Cups. Susan says she does her best writing at Tim Hortons. Not just anyone, hers. She takes the bus all the way across town, stays for hours on end, often the only customer. They leave her be as long as the coffee flows. She takes her coffee black, never a donut. The force of her words is energy enough. So far, she's filled 8 notebooks, used up 12 ballpoint pens, consumed more coffee than any long-distance trucker, and no one has ever read one word that she has written.
We love Tim Hortons.
So went to the mill to make my bill. See how